NOS4A22 Chapter 10 The New Millenia. After saving Carlos in the new millennia, the Order of the Leech returned once more to complete their triple coupling, so they would roam freely forevermore and transverse between the seen earth and their tucked-away dark paradise. The last of their recruits was a woman in Africa who was set to be executed for marrying a white man. A menacing military sect took her away in the night, but the leeches heard her and saw her dreams. They answered her and took her. Her name is Makea. Leech's name is Aram, but no one calls him this, especially after the war escalated between Aram the Leech and the Earth's Beast. See, Ursula became infuriated all the more after Aram snuck to take Carlos from the care of Alice and Fran. Aram knew something was wrong for hundreds of years, beginning at the point of Carlos's rescue in Spain in 1600. What did it was Abbas was not killing children. He always refused to do that, yet in the beginning he was manipulated to kill, so he would kill as many innocent people as possible, as Aram the Leech controlled his mind, while Alice looked on through a window in his dreams while he was sleepwalking. He also refused to play the games with children that the Leech had discussed with Abbas. No matter all the mind-warping manipulation to rewire his brain, they could not get him to completely go fully dark and evil. Something else happened. Instead of Abbas harming children, he began killing the legions of leeches, and Fran began to help by his side. During the times when they rescued Carlos, things began to change because everyone saw for themselves what was happening with all the inner turmoil within the Order of the Leech. Carlos got to hear from Fran her story with Abbas and their experience. Aram the Leech was able to have a semi-hold on Abbas for the remainder of these long years, and Fran had to guide him through the confusion. She was always happy and thankful to do it. The sad part about Fran was that she didn't know about the spell Aram the Leech had put on her when she first returned with Abbas. You see, soon as Abbas saved Fran from the marauders and contact was made, the time was up soon as they became connected. Aram the Leech knew the rules of his sick game, and he knew that as soon as this happened, he could take Abbas and Fran right back to him into his possession, and that's exactly what happened. When Aram was able to have complete control, as soon as Fran and Abbas arrived in his reach, they were telepathically tapped into by the Leech's psychic vampire hold from the source of powers of the NOS4A22. In the short time Fran and Abbas had with Carlos, once they prevented the execution for his subordinates, the Leech took Carlos with him, away from Fran and Abbas, keeping them all in his possession within his bizarro paradise separated. So, mid-conversation with Carlos, as he began to learn of the truth of the situation, he was given a decision. The problem with this is that Carlos was his own man. He wasn't going to join any sides other than his, which to him in his mind, especially then, he saw his cause as not self-righteous, but righteous. He knew that he was right for not wanting to go on missions of bloodshed, and to him, this was enough to know in his heart that he was redeemed for this reason. This did not give him righteous permission for him to do whatever he wanted, but he could not see it any other way once he was joined to Aram the leech, for he was blinded. Soon as Fran began to hit him with the truth and started spelling things out for him concerning the order of the leech, the earth beast, and the NOS4A22, they were barely beginning to understand. Abbas and Fran weren't good doers. They were still NOS4A22. Who they killed happened to be all the type people similar to the adult victims of being Partridge. You could say they weren't exactly innocent. Somebody had to do it. There were too many people who the leech saw as expendable and just viewed them as trash people. Aram thought like this and graphed the bridged minds for Abbas to adopt his thoughts, passing them on to Abbas, as he saw that they shared these same views about people who mostly do evil, those who harm others, destroying innocents. So Aram the leech exploited this to build on the unhealthy, destructive urge to destroy evil. Aram found a way for Abbas to do his bidding when it comes to killing, any way he could do it. This was the way Aram got Fran to follow so easily as well. He let them believe it was from their own minds. So Carlos was told the same things that Abbas was told in private about his destiny, and the leech sent him to save his love in the same fashion as Abbas was sent to save Fran. This last time would go very differently, as Aram would be able to go there instead of only being able to pull them back to him. This was the 6th and final 400 years that the order of the leech would be granted. So, by the leech being so selfish, he screwed things up for himself. Aram could have waited for Fran and Abbas. He could have waited for Carlos and Micaiah. Soon as Carlos came to rescue Micaiah, though, he realized that whatever he had been told, he could not conform to, because this woman was in love with another man. And this is why she was being executed. Carlos had an actual Spanish sword as his strong creative knife, and this was a skill he more than exceeded in. This blade was an extension of himself. Carlos could lethally stab many people around him with ease, who most men would be overpowered by such a surrounding crowd. So, this is exactly what Carlos did, as he cannonballed himself directly into the maelstrom of execution. As soon as Aram could, he was there, once the smoke settled and Carlos had completed his job. Thank you for your good work, my son. Your services are no longer needed, Aram the leech told Carlos as he came to take Micaiah away. Carlos was so angry, he tried to go after them once Aram went back through the door, but it didn't work. If he understood at that moment, he would be grateful to know why. Aram the leech destroyed his own Christmas land, his elaborate bizarro paradise. The entire network was falling apart at the seams after this day. Micaiah escaped as the leech pulled her in, and Micaiah was stuck in the broken bizarro paradise. This was not the place where dead demons and ghosts are. This is not where Vic dwells. This is the hidden unrealm of dark imagination that the first of the new Nosferatu would reside. Now, with Micaiah trapped, Aram the Leech has a way to make Carlos do his bidding the same way he first wished to manipulate Abbas and Fran. With Abbas gone on their own now, taking their chance to escape from the mistakes of the Leech, Fran would help guide the broken man who was Abbas, and who, until if ever Aram would die, then Abbas would be present in Abbas's mind, which means that he could never fully be free of the curse of the Nosferatu while the Leech lives. Whenever Aram the Leech is killed, this will disconnect the telepathic holds of the highest psychic vampire. Aram the Leech took Carlos in his chambers to talk to him before the collapse happened. He had been given enough time to speak, the same as Fran and Abbas were given, and this was the sign of balance that would not be taken lightly. As the two talked, Carlos and Aram the Leech, so did Fran and Abbas. Through the Abbas connection, the Leech became frazzled as he worked his magic on Carlos. Aram the Leech had Carlos sit on an imagined throne within the soon-to-be crumbled fortress that, in this last moment of grace, was there in peace. Aram the Leech made Carlos his new prince to fight against the followers of the Earth Beast and to kill all of her children of the night. Ursula had built a strong empire on her own, built on madness and revenge. The Earth Beast had an army of faithful feminine followers she refers to as her F3. The F3 are at war with the masculine order of the Leech. Carlos on that day was commanded by the Leech, "My son, on this day my legacy falls upon you. In time you will see that what we do here is for the greater good of all, so that there will be no more of this senseless war between us." Carlos spoke once, but no buts. I know you question everything, especially what I told you of Micaiah and your fate. Do not try to look into this, because you will find that what I tell you is true, because I made it happen. Can't you see? I made all this happen because I am directly connected to the Nosferatu, the source of the darkest, most evil energy. It speaks and operates through me. Now, I pass my torch to you because you are worthy. You must kill the Earth Beast and all her followers who work to destroy mankind. I know you think it is I who works to destroy mankind by also destroying the women, but I am not destroying them like how the Earth Beast is destroying the future men. She is making them feminists. The ones she is taking. The others she is either castrating or murdering in the worst ways. I take in women to serve man. Those I kill aren't out of the same revenge as the Earth Beast. Aram the Leech spoke as a man who knew the end was coming to his bullshit. Since Aram the Leech would not let Abbas speak out loud, the receptor reflected the signal, and Abbas bounced back his strong thought to clearly inject within Aram's telepathic hold. Abbas disturbed the signal with his message blaring in the Leech's mind. You are the one who caused all of this, for all of us. Now, instead of fixing your problems yourself, you create more problems by getting people like me to try and fix your problems, Carlos interjected. If you don't cooperate, then you and Micaiah will be tortured in all the ways I can find as I comb your mind. I'll find all the worst ways to rip you apart piece by piece by destroying all you love and care about, along with bringing torment in ways you didn't know were possible in this life outside of actual hell. Aram the leech raised his booming voice out loud much more than he needed to, making Fran and Abbas alert as it caught their ears. Carlos bowed his head in disbelief as he was blasphemously anointed by his own sword, which was in Aram the leech's hand, as he lightly touched one of Carlos's shoulders, then the other, in mock ritual. Carlos, I dub thee in my place my prince, as does the order of the leech. I no longer recognize my protege Abbas as my successor. All these millions upon millions of Nosferatu you command, as they are now your children of the night. Aram the leech began. May I be allowed to speak outside of my mind. You crippled me with your display of psychic vampirism, Carlos pleaded, to possibly continue without this trick of the devil. As Carlos telepathically asked this of Aram the leech, the place crumbled beside them where they stood. Carlos rolled out of harm's way, while Aram just stood there unaffected. Carlos was able to do this as Abbas was not, because Aram was not so careful and had less time. His sloppiness nearly allowed Carlos to completely escape the leech soon as Aram caught him. The fact that kept Carlos obediently coming back to serve Aram the leech was this. Soon after, right as he made his move to escape in that moment, Micaiah stopped him. She didn't beg or plead. She looked at him from beyond the door that was blocked by the crumbled, imaginary dreamland come to life by the original New Age Nosferatu. The look she gave of thankfulness showed him that she was more than worth saving. If he could find a way through the hold that this evil leech had on him and her, he understood that he was automatically put at war against not only the Earthbeast and the F3, but she also had to worry about the ones who saved him over in the next chamber, because he knew damn well that they would be at war with all of this after learning what they shared. If he were lucky enough, Carlos would be able to express himself somehow if he were to break the hold. Carlos thought that it would be impossible to kill such a powerful force that had managed to already cheat death as a man, then every day since became something else. Without ever being aware, Carlos was heard by Fran and Abbas saying, "I'll save you." Carlos said this as he looked back at Micaiah before leaving with Aram the leech, and many countless swarms of the children of the night followed at their every command. These boys and men were so far gone that many of them were decaying rot over bones and fangs. Aram the leech had most of the women stay in a special place inside his bizarro paradise. The leech made a haven for the women he made to not fight. Even still, he had some women brainwashed enough to fight for his evil cause. His telepathic psychic vampire hold was great, but the Earthbeast had something else that proved to be strong. Ursula had the hearts of the oppressed, who were one step away from crossing the line to repay evil with worse evil. This is what she accomplished, and these rabid beasts, both men and women, are hell bent on issuing out their revenge upon the world. Pain twists goodness, and this was the plan all along, to bring society to its knees and destroy all those careless, negligent parents who never deserved their children to begin with. This was the spirit of the Nosferatu that Aram saw in Charlie Manx. Once Aram the Leech left with Carlos and the Nosferatu children, Fran spoke with Abbas about helping Micaiah break free, but soon found it would prove to be impossible without destroying the Order of the Leech first, namely Aram the Leech himself. Micaiah would have to build her own new imaginative paths, but they came with a cost. The more she used her strength to build her own protective land through her own imaginative manifestation, the more pain she experienced through minuscule brain hemorrhaging that gave bloody noses and bloodshot eyes to even vomiting until dry heaves. While chasing around the Leech and Carlos along with their legions of masculine Nosferatu children of the night, Fran heard another valuable tidbit of information straight from the sucky mouth of the Leech himself when they moved past the door and safely beyond reach of each other. Aram the Leech said to Carlos, "Those pains you feel when your nose and eyes bleed from your brain, it is not because it should be a great effort for you to manifest. I have this block over you, just as my force always had this firewall against your kind," the Leech said with a satisfied smile. Fran watched as Carlos drooped his head down in defeat while obediently walking by the Leech's side into the real world. Now came the time that there was no more hiding for the Leeches, at least not like before this day. Hell had been unleashed upon all of the earth between the F3 Nosferatu Earth Beasts along with this full-blown release of all the legions of Nosferatu who were obedient under the order of the Leech. The secret had been released into the open and would find its way to Lou and Vic through Maggie. Now that this truth was exposed by the very mouth that orchestrated this disturbance in what otherwise would be a nice experience, well, you can only imagine the ripple waves of coming justice that came with it. When Abbas felt this after friends spoke of it with him, he knew that he would be the one to fight against Aram the Leech. If Carlos himself as prince could not break free, then Abbas knew what he must do. He wished that he wouldn't have to fight the first New Age Nosferatu, because he wished for Carlos to kill him. Abbas just didn't see it happening. He knew too much, and just knew in his old gut that he was right. He might even have to, well, more than likely, fight Carlos and Aram the Leech. He was just glad to have Fran by his side in their long journey of this quest. When they left and Micaiah had realized that she had been hopelessly left alone, she began to cry. She made crystallized tears that were quartz diamonds that encapsulated her dreams and all her imagination. These tears were her knife. She made pathways of good for Wayne and Millie, even conversing with Vic, Lou, and even Maggie. She was the most incredibly strong creative because she was the last. Aram the Leech knew it all along, basically forever. There couldn't be good without bad, and without tragedy, there would be no true appreciation. Without Micaiah doing these things, Aram the Leech would have been able to do unlimited damage, going anywhere in the blink of an eye, and also for the F3 just the same as the leeches. Micaiah was rerouting their bad pathways with good pathways, and so this was infuriating both the leech and the earth beast to no end. No matter the pain Micaiah endured, it was nothing for her because Aram had underestimated her love and her will. She was a woman already sentenced to die for loving a white man as an African woman. Her justice was most pure. The only thing Aram the leech could get her to do that she did not want to do was lie in moments when she would be talking to who the leech did not want her to talk to. This was a terrible thing because it made her cry more because she tried to even write things down to explain she was lying while trying to show all kinds of signs, but for so long no one ever caught it because all the good strong creatives were blinded unknowingly from Aram the leech. One day the right person would catch it, but not before she had to withstand the most hellish kind of torture for a lover: isolation, solitude. It would make her strong, but not before the madness would take its toll severely on poor Micaiah. The misdirection she was telling the good ones was making her angry after a while, and she began manifesting hungry creatures that went feeding on the children of the night. They would kill the evil ghouls as they were caught drawing the blood of the innocent boys and girls that the earth beast and the leech had commanded to destroy. So, whenever they would strike, the creatures would come to kill whoever had done the evil act. Therefrom it came both good and bad things as well, as with most things like this. The obvious good was that the elimination of the evil children of the night on both sides had finally kicked off, after 2,000 years of nothing. The very bad thing was that it made it look like Micaiah's creatures were the ones doing all of the killings now, and this couldn't be further than the truth. The most sad thing of all was that, as you can guess by now, this also was brought on by the sickeningly vile leech who once was Aram, the long-gone good man. It took a long time before anyone put two and two together that the creatures were, for one, being created through Micaiah's tears, and two, that they were killing the evil ghouls of the NOS4A22 and not harming anyone else. Oh, what a mess it had all become. A big, beautiful fucking mess. Now, to leave you with a nice description of these righteous beasts spawned from the tears of the pure. The size of either a large dog or a 12-year-old, depending on whether the creature will stand upright or if it will decide to be on all fours. Front paws like giant raccoon hands or squirrel hands, only with large cat fang-like claws. The back legs were like that of a bear, mixed with that of a kangaroo, also had these type claws, only much thicker compared to the thinner hand claws, which still were big and strong, just the back legs were incredibly strong. So, the front legs acted also as arms. The torso was mixed between a bird and a giant lizard, while the head was something else. Eyes of faint infrared mixed with ultraviolet in mostly black marble eyes. The face of the creature cannot be compared to anything, only described feature by feature. Two big black eyes, round as marbles, but the size of ping pong balls. Within the eyes could be seen glowing rays. The top eyelids were thick and heavy, covering the top fourth of the black marble eyeballs. The skin on the face was dark gray mixed with faded purple. Black veins went down the neck, disappearing under the coat of black feathers that covered the scaly torso. The arms were covered in strong black diamond scales, like Micaiah's tears, and the legs were covered in black fur. The mouth of the creature had diamond cutter teeth that could cut through the strongest stone. Their mouths could retract like a Pez dispenser. These creatures had a nose that looked like a bat's nose and ears to match. Some had wings of bats, others had wings of falcons, but most had no wings. These were the Ghoul Eaters.